Today we'll be doing multi-step equation applications, learning goals and key terms, solve real-world situations using multi-step equations. Set up the equation from the prompt and solve using Des mode, split and solve, test-taking strategy. All right, key terms, main idea, action words, split and solve, algebraic translations. All right, so how do we approach problem solving? One, understand the problem. So you have to read the sentence at a time, one sentence at a time, to find the mathematical action words. Usable numbers, identify the variable, and locate the main idea. All right, secondly, you want to make a plan. Begin translating your findings into algebraic sentences, or which is the equation that we have to come up with, and consult formula sheet if necessary. Then we have to solve the equation using Des mode, split and solve strategy, and then we need to look back at it and make sure that it makes sense. So making connections, okay? If you're trying to speak to someone who doesn't speak English, you have to be able to translate their language into English so you can understand what they're saying. All right, thankfully, there's an app for this, Google Translate. It's the same thing when it comes to algebra, okay? We're given mathematics expressions using grammatical sentences, and we have to change those using algebraic translations to convert grammar into expression or equations, all right? Unfortunately, there is no app for this. So, popular mathematical action words. So, whenever you see increase, plus, more than, or sum, that is addition. For subtraction, we have decrease, minus, less than, difference. Multiplication, times, twice, triple, each, every, per, product. Okay? Division, divided by, average, or quotient. And for equal, you will see is, same, and then I'll add another one, total. Okay? Words like daily, monthly. This is important. Yearly. Words like daily, monthly, hourly, each, every, and per typically identifies where the variable is in the equation. Okay? Alright, so take a closer look. Modeling, application, and understand. A hairstylist is deciding where to open her new salon. If she chooses the Pretty Palace, she will pay $1,200 a month for rent and charge $45 per customer. If she chooses lavish lace fronts, she will pay $1,800 a month for rent and charge $60 per customer. How many customers will she need in 1 month to make the same profit at either location? All right, so first you need to understand the problem. Read the prompt one sentence at a time, and look for action words, usable numbers, variables, and the main idea. So if we go back, a hairstylist is deciding where to open her new salon. That's just giving us what's going on, okay? If she chooses Pretty Palace, she will pay $1,200 a month for rent and charge $45 per customer. So one thing we need to understand is the first place they're talking about is Pretty Palace, okay? And she will pay $1,200 a month. She'll charge $45 per customer. What does per mean? Each, right? So you have to multiply. If she chooses lavish lace fronts, that's the second place. She has to pay $1,800 a month, all right, and then charge $60 per customer. So when we pay for something, that is money spent, so it is negative. And when we charge for services, that is money gained, which is positive. Okay? So now we need to make a plan. Since there are two shops the stylist is considering, we need to make an expression to represent each shop. So how do we come up with our expression? Pretty Palace, the first thing they tell us that she pays $1,200 a month, so that's negative. So that's minus $1,200. And means to add. She charges $45 per customer. So we'll add 45 per customer. Per tells us that we need to multiply, okay? Because it's each. So for lavish lace fronts, she has to pay $1,800 a month. That's negative, so we subtract it. And then so we add $60 per customer, so that is 60C. Once again, we know 45 and 60 get a variable because of the action word per. Whenever you see per, get ready to place your variable right behind that number, okay? Now we need to solve it. The main idea asks how many customers will be needed to make the same profit at either location. The same action word same means equal. So the foundation of our equation will be pretty palace equals lavish lace fronts. Alright, when you're writing equations, it's best to go ahead and write your words out first so you won't get confused, and then fill in what the equation is under that. So, pretty palace, we had negative 1200 plus 45C. That equals lavish lace fronts, which is negative 1800 plus 60C. Now, we're going to use Desmos to solve this. Okay? Now, if we're putting this in Desmos, what is the first thing we put? Y equals. Okay, and then what are we going to put? The left side of the equation, okay, which is negative 1200 plus 45x. When we put in equations in Desmos, we put x instead of the variable they use, okay? We'll use x every time. Then on the second input, we'll start with y equals and then put what? The right side, which is negative 1800 plus 60x. You put negative 1800 plus 60x. Alright, so once we place those in Desmos, we have to go and see where the line intersects. Alright, so once we put it in Desmos, alright, you will notice that the lines are very, very close together. Alright, so you have to keep zooming in and scrolling up until you actually see where those two lines intersect. Alright, so the point we got was 40, 600. Okay, and we know our answer is the x because that's what we're solving for. So we should get 40. Okay, so what does 40 mean? So how many customers will be needed to make the same profit? That is 40 customers. So now it's time to look back. Okay, we've solved the problem. Now we need to actually make sure that our answer makes sense. So the solution is 40 customers. So does 40 customers in a month seem reasonable given the situation? Okay, I would say yes. And which shop should she go to if she has to make less than 40 customers a month? Okay, so you can find that by looking on Desmos and just moving down on the graph. Alright, so let's get an example. We do number 1. John is looking to get his logo and a picture screened on t-shirts to sell to the public. Screen Kings charge $6 per shirt plus a one-time fee of $90. The shirt doctor charges a flat rate of $15 per shirt. Write an equation to determine how many shirts John must buy in order for both company prices to be the same. Okay, so we got Screen Kings, right? And they charge how much? $6 per shirt. Okay, plus a one-time fee of $90. Then we have the shirt doctor, who charges a flat fee of $15 per shirt. Okay, so the first step would be to write the names because you don't want to confuse which equation is which. All right, so you got the Screen Kings equal the shirt doctor. So $6 per shirt means that I have to do what? I have to put a variable there. So I need to multiply 6, and we'll just use x. Alright, then it tells us to do what? Add a one-time fee of $90, so we can just add 90. The shirt doctor has a flat rate of $15 per shirt. So that's just 15x. Per tells us that we need to put a variable there, so we're going to put x. So now, write an equation to determine how many shirts. All we have to do is, we're going to translate this equation to over here. In order to find our solution, we have to go to where? Desmos. Alright, so what's the first thing we put in Desmos? Y equals, and then the left side of the equation. Then we have y equals, and then the right side of the equation. So let's put that in Desmos. Alright, so once we put it in Desmos, what do we get? It's our coordinate. 10, comma, 150. So that tells us that it would take 10 shirts for the company's prices to be the same. So now let's think, does it make sense? Is it reasonable? Seems to me, right? The senior class at Callaway has planned a class trip. The class treasurer reported that $3,500 in the class account. If there are 210 seniors, how much money will each student have to pay if the trip costs a grand total of $25,550? So let's make it make sense, okay? It's a senior class at Callaway, they're planning a trip, okay? The treasurer reported that it is this much in the account. Okay, so is that going to be positive or negative? Positive, because that's how much money is in the account. There are 210 seniors, okay? How much money will each student have to pay if the grand total is $25,500? Okay? So we know that it's $3,500 in the account, right? And how many seniors? 210. And each of them have to pay an amount. Do we know that amount? No, so what has to go there? A variable. And this all is going to equal, right? Because when it's a total, it's represented by equal sign, 25,550. So do we see how we came up with the equation? Okay? This is what we started with. There are 210 seniors, and we need to see how much will each student or each senior, okay, will have to pay in order to get that grand total. So, in Desmos, we have y equals what? 3,500 plus 210x. And then in the second input or the second box, we put y equals 25,550. All right, let's see what we get. All right, so once we get into Desmos, we'll get an answer of what? 105, comma, 25,550, okay? And we already knew that it was going to be 25,550 in the y because it told us here that that's what y equals. So it might make it easier for you to find where those lines intersect if you go ahead and go to that y equals because we know it'll be a straight line. So we ended up getting 105 as our solution. Each senior will have to pay $105. Our equation was 3,500 plus 210x equals 25,550. All right. We do 3. Sylvester paints rooms at a rate of 3 rooms per hour and has already painted 6 rooms today. Brandon paints rooms at a rate of 1 room per hour and has already painted 9 rooms. At this rate, how long will it take Sylvester to catch Brandon? Okay, so when we start out with our equation, we have Sylvester, because he's first, equals Brandon. And we know it's equals because he's trying to catch him, all right? So Sylvester paints room at a rate of 3 rooms per hour. Okay, so we know we have to do what? Multiply, because per tells us that variable is there. So 3 rooms per hour, okay? And has already painted 6 rooms today. So we got plus 6. So he's already painted 6, and he does 3 per hour. Okay, you can put H or you can put X. Brandon, on the other hand, paints at a rate of 1 room per hour and has already painted 9 rooms. Okay? So we got equal 1 room per hour, which give us 1H, or we can just say what? H, right? And has already painted 9 rooms. Okay? So we have H plus 9. At this rate, how long would it take Sylvester to catch Brandon? Alright, so it's time to put it in Desmos. Once we put it in Desmos, what's the first thing we do? Y equals. Then the left side of the equation. So y equals 3H plus 6. And then on the second input, we'll put what? Y equals H plus 9. Alright? Good correction. In Desmos, we put X instead of H, instead of the variable. Okay? So we got 3X plus 6. And then at the bottom, we have X plus 9. Alright, once we put it in Desmos, what do we get? 1.5, comma, 10.5. Alright, so X equals 1.5. So it would take Sylvester 1.5 hours in order to catch Brandon. It'll take him 1.5 hours to catch Brandon. Alright, we do 4. An isosceles triangle has 2 equal sides that measure 2n plus 1 centimeters, and the third side measures 6n plus 4 centimeters. The triangle has a perimeter of 206 centimeters. Find the length of each side and the perimeter. Okay? So an isosceles triangle has 2 equal sides that measures 2n plus 1 centimeters. Okay? They give us a shape here, so we'll use it. Right? Okay? Now, the third side measures 6n plus 4. Find the length. The triangle has a perimeter of 206 centimeters. Find the length of each side and the perimeter. Okay? Find the length of each side and the perimeter. So in order to find the length of each side, we have to find out what n is, right? Okay, so our equation is going to be 2n plus 1, right? Plus 2n plus 1 plus 6n plus 4. And what does that equal? Take this away right here. 206. Because that's the perimeter. The perimeter is adding all of the sides. So we just added 2n plus 1 here, plus 2n plus 1, plus 6n plus 4. We got all of these dimensions from the word problem. All right, so once you add all of those together, you get 206 centimeters. Okay, so that's our equation. So how are we going to put this on Desmos? Y equals 2x plus 1 plus 2x plus 1 plus 6n plus 4. And then in the second box or input, we'll put y equals 206. All right, so when we put this in Desmos, what do we get? 20. 20 comma 206. So we get 20. Okay? So n equals 20. But we're not done because it says find the length of each side. Okay? It says and the perimeter, but it gave us what the perimeter was. Okay? So now, if we wanted to figure out what 20 was here, what this side is here, we have to sub in 20 for our variable. So there's 2 times 20, which is 40, plus 1 is 41. Okay? So if this side is 41 and these are the same side, then we know this side is 41. Then we have 6 times 20 plus 4.
124.
Okay? So there's 120, then plus 4, 124. Okay?
41 is 82.
Okay, so does it make sense? All you have to do is add. You have 124 plus 41. Then add 41 to that, and then you will get 206. Okay?